The Cleveland Browns finished the 2025 season 5-12 and yet again are searching for their franchise quarterback. So in today's video, I will be attempting to do the impossible. Today, we're going to be doing a mock-off season for the Cleveland Browns. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're new and going to enjoy. Let's hop into it. So the way the video is going to work is we are going to begin by talking about the 2025 season, what went right, what went wrong. More so wrong than right. You get my point. We'll then talk about some team needs. We'll talk about the salary cap situation. We'll talk about a free agency plan, and then we'll do a 3-round mock draft. And yes, boy got his hair cut.
Oh my God, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck, man?
But all right, 5-12, a horrendous season for the Cleveland Browns, to say it lightly. Not a lot of positives to take away from this year. Obviously, we had the whole experiment, the Joe Flacco couple games there, then the Dylan Gabriel era, which was horrendous. And then the end of stretch here with Shedeur Sanders, that was, kind of up and down. The whole quarterback issue for this team has been going on for what feels like my entire lifetime. In fact, it actually has been my entire lifetime. I was born in 2002. This team has not had a good franchise quarterback, maybe besides Baker Mayfield, for like 1 or 2 seasons in my entire life, basically. And this season was more of the same. You saw Myles Garrett just win Defensive Player of the Year. Shout out to him. He completely deserved it. He had an incredible season, right? We saw this offense, though, really struggle. And it's not just the quarterback position. This offensive line stinks and cannot stay healthy. The receiving core is maybe the worst receiving core in the NFL in terms of wide receivers. Tight ends are actually pretty good. Wide receivers, not so much. This is just, like, let's be honest, not a good football team. They fired their head coach, Kevin Stefanski, who I think is a good coach. It was just not going to work in Cleveland. He now goes to Atlanta, which is good for him. The Browns have a lot of work that needs to be done. This offense needs multiple starters, and defensively, you don't want to lose what you have on that side of the football. There is a lot of talent there. A new DC in the building. We'll see how that works out. But with that said, that was 2025, a disastrous season in almost every regard. Somehow Andrew Berry still has a job. Somehow this team still has optimism and hope. So let's now go and talk about some team needs, because let's be honest, most of them are on the offense. Let's start off with the quarterback room, which yet again, they need a starting quarterback. Now, there is reason for optimism about the future within the quarterback position for Cleveland. Obviously, last offseason, they brought in, 4 quarterbacks with Deshaun Watson already on the roster. But they brought in Joe Flacco. They brought in Kenny Pickett, which was weird. They then drafted Dylan Gabriel, and then even weirder, they drafted Shedeur Sanders like the next round. It was just a baffling process to have 4 quarterbacks, technically 5, with Deshaun Watson. And none of those guys really played great. Like, Joe Flacco had some moments, but he was mostly mediocre. Obviously, when he's on good, talented football teams like Cincinnati, at least on the offensive end, he looked pretty good. But in Cleveland, he had no help, and he looked terrible out there. Again, they rocked with Dylan Gabriel. He was bad. And then they rocked with Shedeur Sanders, and, Pro Bowler. I'll give him that one, I guess. But he was up and down, more down than up, but better than the other 2 options, I'll say that. So you now enter into this offseason where you have to ask yourself the question of what is going to come from this quarterback room. Do you, for whatever reason, give the job back to Deshaun Watson and see if maybe it was just a Stefanski issue? That would be a way to go. It would be a bizarre one, and maybe there could be some redemption with Todd Monken, maybe, but I don't see it. I think realistically, your best path forward is just to start Shedeur Sanders next year. I don't even think you should bring in competition. I would just say Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, in that order. Shedeur being the day 1 starter, seeing if he can have a good season. Maybe you bring in a vet, but I don't think so. I think if Shedeur just sucks, you're paying Deshaun Watson $80 billion, so let Deshaun play. Outside of quarterback, wide receiver is a big time need. This receiving core last year was just bad. Jerry Jeudy was thought to be the guy in this team. And look, Jerry Jeudy had a really good first year with the team, but this year he was just disappointing. Look at this. 106 targets, only 50 receptions. Like, that's crazy numbers right there. 602 yards. Then there was Isaiah Bond, who was brought in like last minute. He's one of their better receivers, but yet again, 18 of 44. A lot of those were big bombs down the field, but still not the most efficient numbers here. Cedric Tillman was a nothing. Jamari Thrash was a nothing. This team just has to get better at getting open. Their number 1 receiver was a rookie tight end in Harold Fannin, who looked really good out there. So I think wide receiver, and I don't think it's just 1 wide receiver. I think it's 2, maybe just a complete reset of the room. Now, not much you can do financially within that room. We'll talk about that here in a second. But, Jeudy will be on the roster more than likely next year. Maybe you cut him. We'll get into that here in a second, but Jeudy will likely be there. Same with Isaiah Bond, and same with Cedric Tillman if he can stay healthy. But you do have 2 first-round picks. You do have a lot of draft capital this year. I do imagine they'll probably spend draft capital on a receiver to compete for that wide receiver 1 job. Then you got to look at the offensive line. When you look at the starting 5, at least the starting 5 they were hoping to have, Cam Robinson at left tackle, Joel Bitonio, Ethan Pochich, Wyatt Teller, and then of course Jack Conklin at right tackle. That's a very old group of guys. A lot of those guys are in their 30s. In fact, maybe they're all in their 30s. Like, this is a really old unit. You have to reset the room. Not to mention, a lot of these guys are also free agents this year, meaning you either bring them all back or you let some of them walk. And I would imagine you're going to let some of these guys walk. When healthy, this offensive line, it's not terrible. The tackles aren't great, but Jack Conklin's a good starter when he's healthy. Joel Bitonio's a good player when he's healthy. Wyatt Teller, good player, healthy. It's just a lot of injuries on this offensive line, and they're also older, looking for new contracts, and this Browns team is nowhere near trying to compete right now. So you're going to probably need, realistically, 3 to 4 starters on this offensive line, either this offseason or the next offseason. You have to bring in 3 to 4 guys these next 2 years. Outside of that, defensively, you're pretty set on a lot of positions. I think some defensive line depth, another edge rusher next to Myles Garrett would be ideal. Devin Bush is a free agent. If you don't bring it back, you're going to need a linebacker next to Schlesinger, but we'll talk about that here in a second. I think corner depth is always a need, and I would like the idea of getting a free safety to pair up next to Grant Delpit, so Delpit can play a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. More of a free safety. We could spend a day 3 pick on that one, hypothetically. But yeah, those are their team needs. Quite a bit of them. It's kind of a mouthful. Pause. But let's go ahead and now talk about their salary cap situation, which honestly is kind of tough to gauge. And I say it's tough to gauge because this is over the cap here that has them listed at over the cap by $3 million. Whereas you go to Spot Track, which I typically think Spot Track's a bit more accurate, and they have them at negative $19 million. So I don't really know the exact numbers. I'm not a contract guru. I don't know the Browns inside and out in terms of their finances. So we're going to go ahead and play this a little bit more loose in this video. I'm not going to overspend. I'm not going to underspend. I'm going to assume the Browns can financially wiggle their way to get a couple guys in free agency and get some guys to re-sign back. So I don't have a starting point number. I usually do. I usually have a more concrete number because the numbers fluctuate. This is a $22 million difference. I'm kind of just going to play it as if they have $0 in cap space, and we're going to try to open some up and then pay some guys back. So again, loose numbers here. Just, bear with me on this one. Hopefully it makes some sense by the end of it. If not, please just roast me in the comments and don't roast my haircut, please.
Oh, hell no! Oh, hell no!
Please, this took an hour to do. I didn't do it. Good barber, nice guy, but so again, guys, just bear with me. It does say negative $19 million. We'll refer to this number specifically, but I'll keep mentioning the idea of keeping this number a little bit loose here. With that said, we need to make some moves on this team to open up cap space. Even if we're at the $3 million that over the cap says, or we're at $0 million, we still need money to re-sign and pay players. So the number one thing I think they're going to do first is going to be bring or restructuring the deal of Denzel Ward. You can restructure him in 2 ways. One will basically save you a little bit more than the other, so we're going to do that one. This will turn his cap hit from $32.8 million to $17.8 million. And you can see just off of that one restructure alone, which is basically just pushing money back a little bit. We'll talk a bit more in depth about that with Deshaun Watson. But now we're at -4. Again, let's just say 10-ish million or so. I don't know. And then Deshaun Watson, this is the tough one because here's the deal with Deshaun Watson. If you want to cut Deshaun Watson, I switched to over the cap here because it's a bit easier to see. If you want to cut Deshaun Watson, it's tough either way, either post or June 1st. If you do it before June 1st, you would be eating $50 million in cap savings. Like this $30 million would be negative $47 million. And you also would have dead money of $131. And then if you did it post June 1st, you'd save nothing and you'd just be eating $80 million. Now, we did see the Broncos do something like this with Russell Wilson, and it kind of worked out for them. But I feel like with where the Browns are at, because they're not trying to contend, because they are a bad football team, I just don't think you do anything about it right now. I think cutting him right now would just hurt you more than help you. So in this situation, we're just going to go ahead and restructure the deal of Deshaun Watson, which basically what that would do, it would minimize his cap hit. You can see his cap hit would be $80 million. If you restructure him right now, his cap hit would only be 44, which means you're saving about $36 million in cap. And what that would do is that $36 million, you'd basically spread it out for the next several years. So it'd be about $8 million from 2027 to about 2030 or so, which is not great and not ideal, but it's okay because the salary cap is always growing. We saw it this year grow $20-30 million. So it checks out a little bit there. We're going to restructure the deal of Deshaun Watson, which you can see puts his back up into the positives here. It says 31 million. If we were doing this on over the cap, we'd be at like 50 million. So we're going to pretend we're working with about $40 million. Just to give us a bit more wiggle room as well, we're going to cut some of these backup offensive linemen. Cornelius Lucas, he's 35. He's not a good player at this stage. We're going to cut him. That saves about $1 million. And then down the board, Kendrick Green, he's 28 years old. He's just an average backup player. We're also going to release him. That saves us now an additional like $2-ish million. So we're going to be pretending as if we're operating with like 40 or so million dollars. Okay. So again, numbers aren't perfect, but hopefully that checks out. So with that said, we're now at about, let's just say $40 million. We have a lot of team needs though, but we also need to re-sign some players. So with that said, let's now go ahead and look at some of the free agents we need to bring back because there are some important ones. We're going to stick with Spot Track here because they actually have a lot of really good numbers in terms of their market value, which gives us a better indicator for how much they will charge to be back on this team. We are going to bring back Joel Bitonio. He's the one guy that I feel the best about because he's the best offensive lineman when healthy. And so we're going to bring him back. I'm not going to bring back any other of those older offensive linemen, but Bitonio we will bring back. We'll sign him to market value, which is 1 year, $12.9 million. That would also, there'd be some bonuses. There'd be some extra little money thrown in there. We're going to agree to this. This is what Spot Track has listed. We're going to sign the player. You can see the number right here. We're now about 28, we'll say $38 million. Let's just add another number here. David Njoku's interesting because with Harold Fannin being as good as he was in his rookie year, I do think Njoku is a bit more movable. But with Todd Monken coming from Baltimore, obviously Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, these big 2 tight end sets, I do think that Njoku would be a priority for them to bring back. However, they also could be in the mindset of like, we will just draft one this year in like on day 3, more of a blocking tight end. So this one's tough. I also know that David Njoku probably wants to be a Brown, and I also know that Browns fans love David Njoku. His market value is quite high at 2 years, basically $20 million. It's tough. To me, it's either you sign David Njoku back for a deal or you bring in like some depth in the offensive line and secondary. I'm gonna think about that one for a little bit. We'll get to that one here in a second. But outside of that, Devin Bush is a must bring back. He had a really good year. 3 years, $27 million. Maybe that last year you can put sort of like a team option on it. We'll sign him to that one. You can see the number now goes to about 25. We'll say about $35 million. And then outside of that, I think Tevin Jenkins did a good job this year as sort of a rotational piece. I definitely think we could have him start next year, and maybe we'll see if he's worth the contract. Market value, $2.3 million. I'm down for that one. At the very worst, he's a backup offensive lineman for us. So that then brings us back to David Njoku, who, again, a really good football player, and I would love to have him back. But him making $10 million a year is tough. You know, if he wants to come back for cheaper, I think we can have those conversations, but I think I'm going to pass on Njoku and prioritize getting a little bit younger, adding more weapons in the offseason, and then drafting a tight end in like day 3. Again, if he does want to be a Brown and is determined to come back and will come back for a cheaper deal, like $5 million a year, yeah, we'll run that deal in. But regardless, though, we did bring back a handful of guys, some big name there. We're going to click I'm done. We're about $34-ish million, 24-ish, somewhere around that range. Which means we're not really in a great spot financially. We can't really bring in a ton of these big home run hits. But what we can do is we can bring in quality free agents that do make a difference on our roster. Again, to reiterate, we still need 3 starting offensive linemen. We brought back 2 starters on the interior. We need a tackle at left, a tackle at right. You do have DeJuan Jones. Maybe you start him, but he's so injury prone and he's just not great, so I don't know. And you need a starting center. We still need another receiver, which we can maybe take that in the draft. And then I think we need help in the defense as well, just more depth options. So I'm going to stick here on Spot Track because I think they just have a really good interface here. If we go over to League here, some big-time free agents we can definitely look at. And I think we're going to start here with Jonah Williams. I think he's a relatively affordable player. There's also Braden Smith. Braden Smith is a bit more expensive, 3 years, $40. Whereas if you compare that to Jonah Williams, who's 2 years, $20, Braden is better, but he's a little bit older. Jonah is more of a temporary piece that can play right tackle opposite of a rookie, can kind of be that, you know, the gap in the future bridge to a long-term tackle down the road. I think we take Jonah Williams here, who I think can play either left or right and can be solid. Not great, but solid enough for us to start here. We'll bring in Jonah Williams for, I guess that'd be $10 million per year. We'll sign that deal. And I'll make one more kind of cheaper move here because I don't want to overspend. We need about $15 to $16 million in cap space for our draft class. Remember, we do have 2 first-round picks. So we'll look at a free agent here, probably someone less than $10 million. Jalen Thompson is really tempting, but I don't think he's going to come out and leave Arizona. I think that'd be a little shocking. I think I might go after Geno Stone here. I've kind of just been scrolling looking for some names here that could be kind of cheap. Geno Stone checks some boxes because he was at his best in Baltimore. Obviously, Monken's an offensive guy, but you'd have to imagine he's going to bring in a lot of the staff. Maybe he already has from Baltimore. And Geno Stone is kind of a cheaper player who had a decent year for Cincinnati this year. More of that free safety roamer that can play next to Grant Delpit. I know it's like a safety. That's what you're prioritizing. I know, but I can't really think of anything else we might consider here. Like, there's no name here that to me is just screaming like you have to take him. Maybe Josh Nijman as like a temporary starter at tackle. Maybe, I guess we'll sign Josh Nijman as like a swing tackle. Maybe he starts for a year, and then we'll also do Geno Stone. So in the free agency class, we have done Jonah Williams on a 2-year, $20 million deal, Geno Stone on a 1-year, $7 million deal, and Josh Nijman on a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. It's not the most sexy offseason ever, but I think it does at least kind of give us some solutions. I think Geno Stone in this system, playing next to Grant Delpit with some Ravens coaches getting him back in the door, it also leaves us enough money to pay our draft class while also having flexibility. Whatever money might be remaining, we'll just use for depth options in the secondary, linebacker, things like that. So with that said, kind of a long-winded, tough, not so fun way of going about it, but let's go ahead and hop into our PFF mock draft simulator. So to have some fun here, I actually think we're going to do more than 3 rounds. I think I'll do a 5-round mock draft for the Browns just because they have so many needs, and I want to make sure I can address as many as possible, and they have so many draft picks in this class. So let's have a little bit of some fun here. We're going to go a little bit longer. I usually just do 3 rounds, but you guys are my favorite. I love you Browns fans, so we're going to give you guys a bit extra here. All right, the board is set. Fernando goes 1, Bain goes 2, Love goes 3, Bailey goes 4, and Carnell Tate goes 5. We can either take one of the top tackles, one of them being Fano or Maui Noah, or we take a difference maker and receiver in Jordan Tyson, who does have a ton of injury concerns. Also, I'm going to be kind of quick here because we have a lot of picks to go through. I think I'm going to go ahead and take the difference maker at receiver in Tyson because I think we can be okay at offensive line with these picks. They also have a ton of picks. Remember, you trade up from 24. I'm just going to throw that idea out there, but no trades in this one. We're going to take Jordan Tyson. Yes, he has some injury concerns, but I think if he's healthy and if he's 100%, he could be a top 5 receiver in the NFL. We're going to take Jordan Tyson here for the Browns. All right, we're back up at 22, and man, this one worked out great for us. Viveka Ione, I mean, he's not our tackle, but he's going to play guard for us, and we still, like Jenkins and Batonio are not long-term plans for us. We can maybe even kick Jenkins to play tackle. I know I don't love the idea, but I think I just take him here because I'm much higher on Ione than I am Proctor. Lomu's a fun prospect, but he's kind of a down-the-road sort of guy. I say let's just take the best offensive lineman here and take Viveka Ione. Maybe we could take a tackle at 39 too. Let's just take him here. That's a great value pick. All right, 39, we're back up, and some pretty fun options here. Emmanuel Pregnon also fell to us. Do we just take 2 guards and say screw tackles? No, probably not. We've taken Tyson. We've taken Viveka Ione. I feel like we've really upgraded that offense. We did bring in Geno Stone, but Emmanuel McNeil-Warren might be like a 1st-round pick. He's a stud. Anthony Hill, maybe him and Carson Schwessinger and Devin Bush. I kind of like that. Jeremy Bernard. Ooh, you know what? I don't hate that. Let's look at the tackle board here. Ooh, Max Ihinachor. This is tempting. I think we know we're going to have to take him here because our next pick's at 70. And this one's a tough spot to be in. There's a couple tackles here I really like. Blake Miller and Max Ihinachor. These guys to me are true tackles. There's a lot of talent here. Max more high upside. Blake still high upside, but a bit lower of a floor. Or do I just go with the receiver here and take Jeremy Bernard? I think I'm going to go ahead and take Ihinachor because I think I can take Skylar Bell in round 3 and have him be sort of our slot guy. I love this draft class so far. Yeah, Max Ihinachor, I believe is how you pronounce it. He's going to play left tackle for us. Or right tackle, probably actually right tackle. Kick Jonah to play left tackle where he was at originally. Yeah, let's take Max here. All right, we're back up at 70. And I mean, look, Max Clare is here. We did talk about the 2 tight end sets. I think that might be an option here, but receivers also a need. We talked a bit earlier about Skylar Bell. I know some fans might say Zachariah Branch, but I don't know. Bond is your speedster already. He gives you a ton of speed down the field. I'm not the highest on Branch, just full transparency. So maybe I'm just biased here. But I think Skylar Bell is the perfect sort of complementary piece to a Jordan Tyson and to a Jerry Jeudy. He stays healthy. He's always on the field. He's productive. He plays in and out. I just feel like that's a good pickup here. And with the way the board is right now, we can focus on defensive line, I feel like, later with our 100s. And then corner depth too. We can also focus a little bit later down the board. I think we need to get a difference maker at receiver. Tight end as well. I feel okay taking some of these tight ends and taking some swings on them on day 3. Let's take Skylar Bell here, who I also took in the last, I think I took him for my Washington rebuild. I think Skylar Bell is a really good complementary piece. All right, we're back up at 107, and ooh, Manny Muhammad is here. Skylar Gill Howard is here. I am liking some of these options that are on the board here. Marlon Klein is also here too. Bud Clark, man, this is some exciting players here on the board right now. I know I said I wanted to find an edge rusher. Malachi Lawrence, yeah. These guys are a little bit underrated here. We get to like day 3. You know what? I'll target one of these 3, even Max Llewellyn a little bit. I'll target one of these 3 offense or edge rushers with these picks. For now, let's pass on that. I think I'll pass on tight end too, because honestly, I feel okay with a lot of these options here right now. I think they're all kind of in a big boat right here. I think Manny Muhammad makes a lot of sense here. So does Skylar Gill Howard, but you just paid, obviously got Mason Graham, and you already have Malik Collins, who had a really good year. His injury kind of screwed everything up. Let's take Manny Muhammad here, because I think you have your high-end guys, but they've also been kind of dropping some pieces. They made a move for one who was just okay. Manny, I think, could be a starter in the NFL. I legitimately think he can. So let's take Manny Muhammad here at 107. We're back up at 139. We have 3 picks here in round 5. Let's focus here on, let's get a tight end. Let's get a tight end. Unfortunately, all the tight ends I was okay with left right now. We're not on the board, so that stinks. But honestly, like, this board's not terrible. Kozio's massive. He's a big dude, 6'7", 250 pounds. Daquan Wright had a pretty good year for Ole Miss, also a big dude. I'm looking for more of a blocker though, and obviously none of these guys really are blockers. Look at the grades here, it's atrocious. Maybe Kitzelman, he's a big dude, 6'5", 255. I like him too. I think this might actually be my pick. Nate Borkercher from Texas A&M, who I think has a decent ceiling as a receiving threat, but he's also a decent blocker. I feel like this is a little early for him, but we'll consider him as well. Let's just kind of just go down the board here. Armaj Reed Adams. I mean, I know we don't really need a guard right now, but I'm not against that at all. Ooh, Pat Coogan. Pat Coogan is on the board here. Yeah, we're taking Pat Coogan. Starting center for Indiana. Played great the entire year. Didn't he win like offensive MVP in the playoffs for the Indiana Hoosiers? Yeah, shout out Pat Coogan. I'm loving this draft, by the way. This is just a fun draft class so far. I mean, do we just take Armaj Reed Adams? Let him play guard for us? Just keep taking hits on this offensive line? Logan Jones, Cage Casey? Yeah. He's a guard. He's not a tackle. I mean, I don't think we need him. We just took another guard. I mean, actually, we don't need him. Trey Zune. Yeah, he's good. He's a good ball player. He's not the strongest guy in the world, but he's got good size, good range. He's actually a pretty solid athlete. Let's see. Maybe a receiver board here. Oh, boy. Do we want the John Carroll kid? They don't have any numbers on him, but Tyron Montgomery lit up the Senior Bowl. I don't know if they have his size on him. Yeah, 6'1", 190. He was incredible at the Senior Bowl. Do we run it? Do we just do that? Let him get a shot? Let's look at the edge rushing board here still. Okay, let's take one of these edge rushers. Malachi Lawrence doesn't have a ton of strength against the run, but is a really good pass rusher. I believe it's Nadeem Tucker. Really good Senior Bowl. He might be a late day 2 pick. I can see it. Look at the numbers here. I mean, 14 sacks. I'm going to take him. I thought he looked really good at the Senior Bowl. We'll take him, add him to that rotation of defensive line. And then to end off this draft, I know I said tight end. I think I might just take Tanner Koziel. He's a big dude. I don't know. I'm looking for more of a blocker here. Or do I just go back to the offensive line and take Trey Zune or Armaj Reed Adams? A lot of options. I think let's just take, honestly, I think I might just take Armaj Reed Adams. Let him be our backup guard this year. Maybe he can take over the starting job next year or the year after. Give him a chance. Big dude, 6'5", 325. Because, I mean, we've already got hopefully our long-term center. Hopefully, probably not, but we'll see. 5th round pick, you never know. We got our tackle. We got our guard. Until you go with Drew Aller. All right, I'm talking too much. Armaj Reed Adams, you're gonna be our guy. You're gonna be our guy. All right, so big time draft class here. We start off with Jordan Tyson, Vivek Ione, Max Ahinachor, Skylar Bell, Malik Muhammad, Pat Coogan, Nadeem Tucker, and Armaj Reed Adams. Hey man, hey, I think that's pretty good. I think it's a pretty solid offseason, quite frankly. But with that said, let us go ahead and try to give you guys the depth chart. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these, please make sure you do. Quarterback, our starting quarterback will be Shedeur Sanders. Our starting running back will be Quinshad Judkins. Hopefully the injury is not too severe. Our tight end is going to be Harold Fannin, and I guess we'll bring back David Njoku as well. So David Njoku will also be there. Our starting tackles are going to be Jonah Williams and Max Ahinachor. Our interior offensive line is going to be Joel Bitonio, Viveka Ione, Tevin Jenkins, and maybe Pat Coogan could be our starting center. We also have to throw shout out to Zach Zinner as well. Our receivers are going to be Jerry Jeudy, Jordan Tyson, Skylar Bell, Isaiah Bond, and Cedric Tillman. And our defensive line is going to be Myles Garrett, Mason Graham, Malik Collins. Maybe Nadeem Tucker can get in there a little bit as well. The linebackers are going to be the same as last year. Devin Bush, Carson Schwessinger, and maybe Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, hopefully, but we'll see about that one. In the secondary, our secondary is going to be mostly the same as well. Denzel Ward, Tyson Campbell, Miles Harden. We also do have Manny Muhammad now in the fold. And our safeties are going to be Ronnie Hickman, Grant Delpit, and Geno Stone. So guys, a lot of work that was done there. This one felt like it took 5 years off my life. I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like I'm 50 years old right now, and I'm tired. I want to go to bed, Grandpa. I'm tired now. But guys, please let me know in the comment section below what were your thoughts on this Browns offseason video. And let me know in the comment section below what team you want next. If you're a Bills fan, stay tuned. Hit the like and subscribe button. Love you guys. Peace.